Right now, there's silence. You haven't heard from her. She hasn't heard from you. And something powerful is happening beneath that silence that most people completely misunderstand. Here's what nobody tells you. When both people stop reaching out, when the texts go quiet, when the calls disappear, that's not the end of the story. That's when the real game begins. That's when psychology takes over. That's when whoever understands what's actually happening wins. Most people panic during this silence. They crack. They reach out first. They break the tension because they can't handle not knowing. And the moment they do that, they lose all the power they had. But the person who understands what's happening during mutual silence, they know something that changes everything. They know that silence isn't empty. It's full of thoughts, questions, doubts, memories, and most importantly, a battle happening inside her mind that will determine everything about what happens next. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. When you both stop contacting each other, you can't control what she does, but you can control how you use this silence to your advantage." Today, I'm breaking down exactly what happens psychologically when mutual contact stops, why most people handle it wrong, and how to use this silence to completely flip the power dynamic in your favor. This is advanced level understanding that separates men who get chosen from men who chase. The silence isn't killing your chances. How you handle the silence determines everything. Let's get into it. What's actually happening in her mind? Listen carefully. When you both stop contacting each other, her brain doesn't just move on, it starts working overtime trying to figure out what happened, why you're not reaching out, and what that means about her value. This is basic human psychology. When something becomes unavailable, when a pattern breaks, when certainty turns into uncertainty, the human mind becomes obsessed with resolving that uncertainty. It's not a choice, it's how the brain is wired. Think about what she was used to: regular contact, predictable patterns, knowing you were available and interested, then suddenly silence. That pattern break creates psychological tension that her mind has to resolve. Here's what's running through her thoughts. Why isn't he reaching out? Did I do something wrong? Is he talking to someone else? Did he lose interest? Maybe I should have responded differently to that last message. Is he testing me? Should I reach out? But what if he doesn't respond? Does he even think about me anymore? This internal dialogue is powerful because it's making her think about you constantly. The silence isn't making her forget you, it's making her obsess about you. Every hour that passes without contact is another hour. Her mind is trying to solve the puzzle of your absence. But here's the critical part. This only works if she perceived you as having value before the silence. If you were desperate and needy before going silent, she's relieved by your absence. But if you had your life together, showed confidence, created attraction, then suddenly went silent, her mind interprets this as loss, and humans hate loss more than they value gain. The psychological principle here is called intermittent reinforcement. When a reward that was previously consistent becomes unpredictable or absent, it creates much stronger psychological attachment than consistent availability ever did. Your silence is triggering this mechanism. She's also experiencing what's called the Zeigarnik effect. The mind obsesses over incomplete or interrupted experiences more than completed ones. Your connection felt unfinished. That incompleteness keeps you in her thoughts far more than constant contact would. Here's what most men don't understand. During this silence, you're becoming more interesting to her, not less. The mystery of your absence, the questions about what you're doing and thinking, the uncertainty about whether you'll reach out, all of this creates mental engagement that constant availability never could. But there's a timer on this. The psychological tension created by silence has a window. Too short, and she doesn't feel the impact. Too long, and she genuinely moves on, or decides you're not worth the uncertainty. The sweet spot is when she's deeply curious, but not yet resentful. During this silence, she's also rewriting history in her mind. The good moments get amplified. The annoying things get minimized. Her brain is making you better in memory than you might have been in reality. This is nostalgia bias, and it works in your favor when there's distance and silence. She's checking her phone more often, even though she's trying not to. She's opening past conversations and rereading them. She's looking at your social media to see what you're doing. She's analyzing that last interaction, trying to figure out what changed. All of this mental energy focused on you. The silence is creating something that constant availability never could. Value through scarcity. When you were always available, you became background noise. Now that you're absent, you've become a question her mind needs to answer. And that question is consuming mental real estate she's not giving to anyone else. But here's where most men fail. They don't understand that her thoughts during this silence are building pressure that will eventually need release. That pressure will either explode in her reaching out or it will dissipate if you wait too long or break first. Timing is everything. Why you must not break first. Here's the brutal truth. Whoever reaches out first after mutual silence loses the power position. This isn't a game, it's psychology, and it determines everything about the dynamic going forward. When you break the silence first, you're communicating several and things simultaneously. You need her more than she needs you. You couldn't handle the uncertainty while she could. You're more invested. You're weaker. All of this happens subconsciously, and all of it kills attraction. Think about what breaking first reveals about you. It says your day-to-day life isn't full enough to keep you occupied without her. It says you're anxious about losing her. It says you need validation that you still matter to her. It says you're willing to abandon your position to get her attention back. None of this is attractive. The person who breaks first gives up all leverage. They've shown their cards. They've revealed they were more affected by the silence. They've demonstrated they need the other person more. And in the psychology of attraction, need is repulsive, while being needed is attractive. This is why you see the same pattern play out repeatedly. The person who cares less has more power. The person who can walk away has more leverage. The person who's comfortable with silence has more value. It's not fair, it's not romantic, but it's reality. When you break first, you also rob her of the chance to miss you. Missing someone requires absence. If you feel that absence before she's had time to really feel your lack, you've wasted the most powerful tool you had, letting her experience life without you and not liking it. Here's what makes this so difficult. The silence is uncomfortable for you too. You're wondering what she's doing. You're questioning if you should reach out. You're analyzing whether silence is the right move. You're feeling the pull to just text something casual to keep things alive. This discomfort is the test. The man who can sit in that discomfort without acting on it demonstrates something powerful: self-control, emotional stability, and genuine outcome independence. These are the qualities that create deep attraction. The man who can't sit in discomfort and reaches out first demonstrates the opposite. But there's a nuance here. You must genuinely be focused on your own life during this silence. If you're sitting by your phone obsessing and just white-knuckling it to not reach out, you're not really strong, you're just performing strength. And that performance will crack. The real power comes from actually being busy with your life, actually focused on your goals, actually engaged with your purpose, actually content whether she reaches out or not. When you're genuinely living your life and she's just one element of it rather than the center of it, not reaching out isn't difficult. It's natural. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics becomes critical. Epictetus taught, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. You can't control whether she reaches out. You can control whether you maintain your frame and focus on your own life. That's where your power lives. If you break first out of anxiety, you've communicated weakness. If you break first because you're strategically checking in, she'll sense the strategy and it will feel manipulative. The only way to win this is to genuinely not need to break first because you're occupied with things that matter more. Here's the test. Can you go days, even weeks, without reaching out while genuinely being fine, not suffering silently, not constantly thinking about her, but actually engaged with your life, your work, your growth, your friends, your purpose? If you can, you're in the power position. If you can't, you've already lost, even if you haven't texted yet. The silence is revealing who has a life and who doesn't, who has options and who doesn't, who has genuine self-sufficiency, and who needs external validation to feel okay. All of this information is being communicated through the absence of communication. When you don't break first, you're not playing games. You're demonstrating genuine value. You're showing that your life continues with or without her, that you're not sitting around waiting for her attention, that you have better things to do than chase someone who's not chasing you. This is attractive at a primal level. What you should be doing during the silence. Here's where most men completely fail. They think silence means doing nothing. Wrong. The silence is your opportunity to become undeniably more attractive, so that when contact resumes, you're operating from a position of increased value. During this silence, you should be leveling up in every area of your life, not to show her, not to make her jealous, but because you're using this time to actually improve rather than sitting around thinking about her. Hit the gym harder. That breakup or distance body is real when you're not distracted. By constant communication, you can channel that energy into physical transformation. Get in the best shape of your life during this silence. Make yourself physically more attractive. Focus intensely on your work or business without the distraction of constant texting and relationship management. Pour yourself into your mission. Make progress, hit goals, build something, earn more, level up professionally. This increases your actual value, not just your perceived value. Expand your social life. Spend time with friends, meet new people, be seen being social and enjoying your life. If you have social media, let your activities naturally show up there. Not as strategy to make her jealous, but because you're genuinely living well. Develop new skills. Learn something you've been putting off. Take that class. Start that hobby. Read those books. Use this time to become a more interesting, more capable, more developed person. Growth is always attractive. Date other people if you're single. This isn't about making her jealous. It's about genuinely keeping your options open and not putting your life on hold for someone who's not actively choosing you. Having options changes your energy in ways you can't fake. Work on your inner game. This is the perfect time and for self-reflection, therapy, journaling, meditation, whatever helps you understand yourself better and become more emotionally grounded. The silence is an opportunity for growth. Here's why this matters. When contact eventually resumes, either because she reaches out or enough time has passed, that a casual reach out from you doesn't reek of neediness. You're not the same person she went silent with. You're better, more fit, more successful, more developed, more interesting. This shift in your value changes the entire dynamic. The worst thing you can do during the silence is nothing. Sitting around stalking her social media, analyzing old messages, obsessing over whether to reach out, letting your life stagnate while you wait. This wastes the opportunity and ensures that even if contact resumes, nothing has fundamentally changed. Think about the psychological impact. She reaches out after weeks of silence. You respond casually, she asks what you've been up to, and you have real things to share. Progress made, goals hit, experiences had, life lived. This demonstrates that you weren't sitting around thinking about her. You were you being valuable. Compare that to the guy who reaches out first or who has nothing to show for the silence. No progress, no growth, just waited. The first guy creates intrigue and renewed attraction. The second guy confirms he has nothing going on, which is why he's so available. The silence is a test of whether you have a life worth living with or without her. If your life falls apart without her attention, you failed the test. If your life gets better without her distraction, you've passed. Which outcome do you think creates more attraction? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Stop thinking about the silence and what it means. Use the silence to become more valuable. Build yourself into someone undeniable. Here's the practical timeline. First week, let yourself feel whatever you're feeling, but channel it into action. Second week, be fully engaged in leveling up. Third week and beyond, you should be genuinely busy and fulfilled by your own life. If she reaches out, great. If not, you're better off anyway. The goal isn't to win her back. The goal is to become a better version of yourself so that whoever you end up with, whether it's her or someone else, you're bringing more value to the table. That's outcome independence. That's real power. How to know when the game has flipped. So how do you know When the silence has done its work, when the psychological game has flipped in your favor, there are specific signs that reveal when the power dynamic has shifted. She reaches out first. This is the clearest sign. When she breaks the silence, she's admitted that the uncertainty was too much, that she's been thinking about you, that she needs to know where things stand. She's made the first move, which means the psychological pressure won you. When she does reach out, her message will tell you everything. Is it casual and confident? That's her testing whether you'll jump on the opportunity. Is it vulnerable and questioning? That's her revealing the silence affected her more. Is it angry or accusatory? That's her emotion showing she cares. How you respond to her reaching out determines everything that follows. If you respond immediately with eagerness, you lose the advantage. If you respond calmly after some time, maintaining your frame, you solidify the power flip. Your response should communicate. I'm glad to hear from you, but I was fine without hearing from you too. Another sign, she's watching your social media more closely. If you notice increased views, reactions, or she's liking old posts, she's digging for information. She's trying to figure out what you're doing and who you're with. This obsessive checking means you're occupying mental space. Mutual friends report that she's asking about you. When she's probing others for information about your life, your status, your dating situation, it means she can't stand not knowing directly. She's invested in finding out, which means the silence is working. Her energy changes when she sees you in person, or if you do interact. If she seems more nervous, more engaged, more interested than before, the silence, the dynamic has shifted. She's showing that your absence created impact. You genuinely don't care as much about the outcome anymore. This might sound counterintuitive, but when the silence has done its real work on you, when you've been focused on your life and actually built something during that time, you realize you're fine either way. That genuine indifference is the ultimate power position. Here's what's interesting. The game truly flips. Not when she reaches out, but when you no longer need her to. When you've used the silence to become so engaged with your own life that whether she comes back becomes genuinely optional rather than desperately hoped for. The Stoics taught that attachment to outcomes creates suffering, while focus on what you can control creates power. During the silence, you can't control her thoughts or actions, but you can control your own development. When you focus there and genuinely detach from the outcome with her, that's when you've won regardless of what happens. The ultimate sign that the game has flipped. You're willing to walk away completely if reconnection doesn't feel right. You're not trying to force something. You're not desperate to get back what was. You're simply open to seeing if there's something better to build going forward. And if not, you're completely fine moving on. This mentality shift is everything. When you're no longer invested in a specific outcome, when you're genuinely outcome independent, your energy changes. That energy is what makes her want to lock you down before someone else does. Desperation repels. Genuine options attract. If she never reaches out. The ultimate Stoic wisdom. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. What if she never reaches out? What if the silence just continues indefinitely? This is where Stoic wisdom separates the strong from the weak. Here's the truth. If she never reaches out, you've received valuable information. She wasn't as invested as you were. She didn't value the connection enough to fight for it. She was fine letting you go, and all of that is good information because it means she wasn't right for you anyway. The Stoics taught radical acceptance of what is. Epictetus said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. If she doesn't reach out, that is what happened. Accept it without bitterness or victim mentality. Think about what permanent silence means. You're free. Free from someone who wasn't choosing you. Free from a dynamic that wasn't working. Free to find someone who's actually excited about you. Free to build something for real with someone who's Alan. That's not a loss. That's a liberation. The weak man interprets her silence as rejection and evidence he's not valuable. The strong man interprets her silence as incompatibility and evidence she wasn't the right one. Same outcome, completely different meaning, completely different impact on self-worth. Here's the frame. If she can let you go that easily, she never had you in the first place. You were more invested than she was. And staying in a dynamic where you care more is a slow death. Her silence just ended it quickly, rather than letting you suffer in imbalance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. You're alive. You have your health, your mission, your future. Whether one particular woman reaches out is irrelevant to your worth and your trajectory. The permanent silence is only painful if you were attached to a specific outcome. But if you truly embrace the silence as an opportunity to grow, to level up, to focus on your own life, then her not reaching out simply means you keep focusing on yourself. Nothing has actually changed except your relationship status. This is the ultimate test of outcome independence. Can you go through this entire experience, do all the work on yourself, and genuinely be okay if she never comes back? If you can, you've achieved something most men never do: freedom from neediness. And here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you genuinely don't need her to reach out, the moment you're fully okay with permanent silence, you become exponentially more attractive. That energy of genuine non-attachment is magnetic. Often she'll reach out precisely when you finally let go. But even if she doesn't, you win because you've used the situation to become better. You're more fit, more successful, more developed, more emotionally resilient. You've proven to yourself that you can handle loss and come out stronger. That's the real victory, the Stoic perspective. She was never yours to lose. People aren't possessions. Connections aren't guaranteed. Everything is temporary. Accepting this reality without bitterness or despair is the path to genuine peace and power. If months pass and there's still silence, you have a choice. You can reach out one final time with genuine casualness and zero expectation, not to rekindle anything, but to close the loop with maturity. Or you can let sleeping dogs lie and move forward completely. Both are valid if done from a place of genuine indifference rather than strategy. The key is that by this point, if you've done the work, you don't need closure. You've created your own closure through growth and acceptance. Whether she's in your life or not, you're on your path. That's the ultimate power position. When you both stop contacting each other, the game flips in ways most people never understand. In her mind, she's obsessing about your absence, wondering why you're not reaching out, rewriting your history together, and feeling the psychological tension of uncertainty. The person who breaks first loses the power position. Reaching out first communicates need, weakness, and lower value. Not reaching out demonstrates strength, self-sufficiency, and outcome independence. During the silence, you must be leveling up in every area: physical fitness, career, success, social life, skills, growth. Make yourself undeniably more valuable so that when contact resumes, you're operating from a position of increased power. You know the game has flipped when she reaches out first, when you genuinely stop caring about the outcome, when you're willing to walk away completely if it doesn't feel right. And if she never reaches out, you've still won because you've used the situation to become better, and you've received valuable information that she wasn't right for you anyway. The Stoics understood something most modern men don't. Attachment creates suffering, while focus on what you can control creates power. You can't control whether she reaches out. You can control how you use this time to develop yourself. The silence isn't empty. It's full of psychological forces working beneath the surface. Understanding these forces and using them correctly separates men who chase from men who get chosen. Stop panicking about the silence. Stop obsessing over whether to reach out. Stop checking your phone desperately. Instead, use this time to become undeniable. Build your body, grow your career, expand your life, focus on your purpose. When you do this, one of two things happens. Either she reaches out and you're now in the power position with increased value, or she doesn't and you're better off anyway because you've leveled up. Either way, you win. That's the power of understanding the game beneath the game. The silence is a gift. It's forcing both of you to confront whether this connection matters enough to fight for. It's revealing who's more invested. It's creating space for growth. It's testing strength. Don't waste it by breaking first out of anxiety. Use it to become someone so valuable that whoever ends up with you, whether it's her or someone better, is getting an upgraded version of who you were before. That's the real game. Not winning her back, but winning yourself forward.